Hi, everybody. This is going to be a fun one. It is November 13th, 2024, and the 92nd birthday of our beloved coach, Coach Al Fracassa. And this is going to be a special podcast. It's QB1. Don Hendricks, and Don missed our 50th reunion in September. He had a family gathering, a vacation in Europe that was planned a year ahead of time. And just this past weekend, he married off his daughter. So I was lucky enough to get some of his time, and we have an opportunity to walk down memory lane with Don Hendricks, number 11 in the program, number one, QB1. And without further ado, I
Oh,
think our friend is here.
can you turn the sound up?
I'm doing that, baby.
Hey, Don.
Hey, Ted. Here, give me a second.
Oh, no
Trying
problem. No problem. I'll just pause it.
and yeah, if you can close it. But yeah, just back to business, and it's good to talk to you. You're looking good there, pal.
That's great seeing you too, man.
Yeah.
We missed you. We had
Yeah. You know what? We were in Italy and had the whole family. It was a trip planned a year before, and of course, then 4 months later, I get the announcement that the 50th is that month. So, unfortunately,
well,
I'm sorry I
the
missed you guys.
fun thing is that we're doing it today. I don't know if you remember what today is, but it's Coach Fracassa's 92nd birthday today.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
50 years ago. There was an article in the Detroit News. I'll click on here. This is kind of interesting. So this is when they declared us number one in the state. And if you look at the sub headline at top, it says "Happy Birthday, Al."
Oh my
And
gosh, I love that.
yeah,
I
and then
love it. Oh my
on the
gosh, how
same
special.
spread, on the same spread, they named him Oakland County's Coach of the Year. Actually, co-Coach of the Year with Chuck Skinner. And if you remember, we played Chuck's son in the championship game,
Right. Yep.
Bishop
Yeah.
Ford. So
Very special.
anyway,
Very special.
this is
So good.
I'm
Thanks
looking
so
for.
much.
I've been
Very
looking
good.
forward to this, Don.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Me too.
I've
So,
had.
sorry, so busy.
Oh, it's all right. We've had a number of really good conversations over the years, especially as we were leading up to the reunion that we did in 2017.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking back of all the things that we talked about, and as part of the 50th reunion documentary that they're doing, I wanted to make sure that we got you involved and
Awesome.
got some of your thoughts. And I want to take you back down memory lane,
I love it.
not just from this season, but I want to take you to the point where I first became familiar with you
Okay.
as an athlete, and that
Mhm.
was when I was in 8th grade at St. Bede,
Right.
and you were at Bernie Junior High, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And the you find out about who the athletes are in your neighborhood and in your city, and you were Bernie was in Southfield,
Yeah.
and our team, we ended up with 7 guys from Southfield out of the 42.
Right.
So the St. Bede guys, there were 5 of us, myself, Dan McLean, Matt Lyons, Len Lewandowski, and Jay McGlinchey.
Right.
And then I think, did you play with Kurt Griffin? Did he also go to Bernie?
Yes.
So
Yes.
you were teammates when you
We
were in.
were on the same basketball team.
Yeah.
But I didn't play football for them. I played football for if I pronounce this right, the Jack Lauer Little League football team.
Oh, so you never played for Bernie?
No.
So when did because I heard when I was in 8th grade, you were in 7th grade, and I said, you think you're good. There's this kid at Bernie Junior High that's going to blow everybody away, and Southfield Lathrop had just opened up maybe 5 years before,
Right.
and they had a pretty good coach. And gosh, we would have had 7 of us would have probably, actually 6, because Dan McLean was in the Groves school district, but 6 of us would have ended up on that Southfield Lathrop team.
Right. Yep.
So
Yeah.
I guess again, I heard about you through the grapevine. You got to watch out for this guy. And how did you go from Bernie? Because you were living in Southfield, right?
I'm correct. In fact, my parents had just gotten separated,
Right.
and so it was a difficult time. Moved. It was just me and my mom. My brothers had my oldest brother had just gone off to college, but my brother Mark, who was at Brother Rice.
Yeah.
So we moved to Southfield, and I went to Bernie, but I played. Actually, it was my first year as a quarterback. And in the 7th grade in the I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Jack Lauer Little League football program. And so we, look, it wasn't that I was all that good. I was just bigger than the other kids.
No, you were fast. No,
Well,
I just got done talking to Cullen, and I'm not going to let you guys off the hook with this humility.
so
I know better.
look, I was 6'2" in the 7th grade.
Yeah, right.
And guess what? I'm 6'2" today. It's
Yeah.
embarrassing. Coach Norton was extremely disappointed that his what he thought was going to be a 6'6" guard turned out to be a 6'2" guard. But yeah, so 7th grade, played quarterback. Had a great team. We went undefeated, and but as you know, in 7th grade, you'd fake a swing round play, and you run the other way, and you run 80 yards for a touchdown every time. So it wasn't exactly football at its best, but it was a lot of fun. And then, but really a big change in my life. My mom, we had no money. She was working. So we moved to Pontiac. So
Okay.
between my 7th and 8th grade years, we moved to Pontiac. And then obviously my brother Mark was already at Brother Rice.
Yep.
And as you know, you had to go to the public school in your district.
Right.
And so I'll never forget going down to the local public school in Pontiac. And I'll never forget the look in my mom's face. I was used to it. But there's graffiti all over the gym, all over the backboards.
Yeah, Pontiac was pretty run down at that point.
It was run down, and I think I would have been one of the only white guys in the school.
Right.
And so she looks around, and I don't know any better. All I know is I'm going into the 8th grade. That's going to be my new school. And actually had hooped in some of the there's a playground that I used to hoop with the brothers, and so it was fairly normal, but the school was really rough. And so anyway, one day my mom and dad show up, and they go, "Hey, you're going to go to St. Regis," and I didn't even know what that was or where it was. And they said, "Your brother Mark's going to pick you up every day, because he's going to the school next door, to high school next door, Brother Rice." And I'm going, "Oh, okay, that's cool." So that's how it happened. All of a sudden, I'm at St. Regis, and I'd have to say it was the biggest turning point in my life. The butterfly effect.
Sure.
It was beautiful. Great school, small school, big fish in a small pond.
But literally across a driveway from Birmingham Brother Rice,
Correct.
where your brother was at. Mark.
Correct.
So you get there in 8th grade, and who's there to greet you? I mean, that was a pretty impressive lineup there at St. Regis.
You know what? Mike Cullen and I connected quickly because our brothers played together.
Sure. Yep.
At Rice, Mark and John, Mark Hendricks.
They were both on the varsity their sophomore year, and that would have been their junior year when you were in 8th grade. Yep.
Yes. And so I mean, I connected with Mike right out of the gate, and came in, and all of a sudden, it was a whole new world. We had
Right.
just a phenomenal lineup of players, not only on the football team but on the basketball team, and it was beautiful. And all of a sudden,
Well, you
um,
had Mark Warner, you had Mike Cullen.
yeah,
Was Tom Henry on your team?
no,
Was he Holy Name?
I think he was Holy Name, but I do remember. I think we beat him 50-0 that year.
Holy Name.
That's a little joke, Tom.
Yeah.
No, but that's the truth. Anyway, I'm kidding. Yes, he was in our league.
Gotcha.
But yeah, we had almost the same backfield as we did at Rice, and
Yeah, it was a feeder school for Brother Rice. I think on our team, I think I tried to count it up as something like 10 players from St. Regis.
yes, yeah.
But you had a lot of legacies. You were a legacy, right?
Nah, I don't know about that, but we had
Well,
a great
a brother of a brother who went to Brother Rice.
yes. My brother Mike graduated in 70. Mark was 73, and I was 76.
Yeah. So you did Mark ever give you any advice? Because he was one of the second or third team that for Casa coach, right?
Right. Yes. No.
No.
My older brothers only beat me up. So back then, you're kind of on your own. And then obviously I wasn't physically with him as he was living with my dad. So, we're in our own world. But I was just blessed and very fortunate to be with such a great group of players and coaches at St. Regis.
Well, but Mike Cullen tells a great story about you in that backfield, and everyone wanted to get touches, right? But he said every time that team got within the 10-yard line of the goal line, that you would audible to a quarterback scramble, right?
100% of the time.
So would you have like 17 touchdowns or something?
Yeah. So well, actually, as soon as we crossed midfield, the ball started going to me. It was ridiculous. And what was funny is, I called my own plays. Here I am.
Right.
I'm a quarterback in the 8th grade, and I call their own plays. And Mike's right. As soon as we got anywhere near the end zone, quarterback right, quarterback left.
Well, Mike said that when he got to Brother Rice, he and Warner went into Yeager's office and said, "You can't let this guy call his own plays because he's only going to call his own number."
That's right. That is so funny. So Coach Yeager, literally, they got to him quick. They got
yeah, they did.
Coach Yeager, he grabs me, Don. Looking forward to the season. But I call the plays.
There you go.
Coach Yeager's going he wanted to make it clear that in my mind, I wasn't calling the plays, which was the best thing that ever happened to us, by the way. And so, but those are all true stories. Yeah.
Okay, so now you're a freshman at Brother Rice. You had I want to back up a bit because I want to share with you some insights that we had. I remember you coming to the Brother Rice gym as a 8th grader and playing pickup basketball, almost like on a daily basis, with some of the players we had at Brother Rice. And Jim Levoy and I, neither one of us played basketball, but we would hang out after school upstairs at the gym, and we would watch the pickup games. And our team had finished 6-0. Our football team, freshman team. So we were pretty full of ourselves, and we were thinking, well, how many of us are going to make the varsity? Because they can't take us all.
Right.
But it was also a really good team. So we're planning for our sophomore year, getting on the varsity, and we said, well, let's look at some of these St. Regis kids. And we were just watching you, and you were cleaning up in 8th grade against some of our classmates and kids older than than us. You know, you were holding your own, and we could see physically the size of you. We go, oh my God, we got our work cut out for us.
Well, that actually that summer, I've got a great story for you, Ted. So that summer, Coach Norton, he takes me down. So this is the summer between my 8th grade and freshman year. He takes me down to St. Cecilia's to play with the basketball team, and actually, an epiphany in my life happened there.
Well, for someone who doesn't know the history of Saint Cecilia and the Saint Cecilia gym, can you fill in that?
Yes. So now understand this is approximately what, 1971, 72.
Yeah, right, right. So what? 4 years removed from the riots.
Yes. And so St. Cecilia's was the most famous gym in the country for pro basketball players, and some of your best black basketball players, all black, that would come and play there during the summers. And then
downtown Detroit,
in the absolute toughest part of downtown Detroit, St. Cecilia's. Yep. And it was legend. Spencer Haywood, all the big names of the time would play there.
George Gervin,
and Coach Norton struck up a friendship with Sam Washington Sr., who ran St. Cecilia's.
Yep.
And I'll never forget the first day that we landed there. There's a group from across the street that kind of approached us, like here's this big group of white boys getting out of these vans. And then Sam Washington walked up and said, hey, they're with me. And everything was good and walking into St. Cecilia's gym. But that moment was profound, because I walked in, here I am, just out of 8th grade. And I turned to Coach Norton and I said, Coach, the statue of Jesus Christ, he's black. And Coach Norton turned to me, and I'll never forget it. He goes, Don, how do you know he wasn't black? And I'm like, whoa, I was hyperventilating. And I took that along with me for my whole life. And it was a profound moment, as well as, a quick, short, funny story. It's 10 minutes into, and they had a high school league where all the Detroit teams would play. And we were literally
the PSL
first white team ever to be invited to play in the St. Cecilia's Summer League, 1971.
Right.
And so he puts me in, and obviously I'm a guard, and I forget. And back then in high school, you couldn't dunk. It was illegal, but at St. Cecilia's, you could. So anyway, I'm a guard. They throw it into me. I take 2 dribbles. This brother steals the ball and then dunks it over my head with his feet, hitting my chest, knocking me back.
So you were the first posterized
and
player from the suburbs.
Yeah. And here's this up and rising kid who isn't as good as he thought he was. And 10 seconds later, Norton pulled me out. And that was my entrance into St. Cecilia's, which was an eye opener.
Well, iron sharpens iron, right? Steel sharpens steel. And he was pretty, both Norton and Fracassa were really good at just challenging their players and getting them in opportunities to succeed. And I think taking those Brother Ice teams in the summer to St. Cecilia, really got them ready for the run in 1974 when they ended up winning the state championship against Cass Tech, right?
Yes.
So a lot of them, we were playing the same guys you were playing against in the summer.
Correct. And it really was just a matter of, for a decade, if Brother Rice advanced, they would end up playing an inner city Detroit team and get blown out. And Norton said, hey, it's time. we got to go down there and learn how to play with the best of them. And so it was really a great experience.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your freshman year and Dave Yeager and the impact that Coach Yeager had not only on your class but on our class. We were the first team that he coached
Mm-hmm.
right out of Eastern Michigan, and he was only, when you think about it, he was only about 7 or 8 years older than us.
Right.
He wasn't that much older
Right.
when he coached us. So
Mm-hmm.
what were your memories of Coach Yeager?
I mean, look, I think first of all, one of the great coaches that I was honored enough to play for in my whole life. I mean, it was. He was smart. He was disciplined. He was caring. He was a great football coach. And I've told him this when we were together. I know he went on to become a businessman, but his true calling would have been coaching. I think
Absolutely.
that he would have walked in the shoes of Coach Fracassa, and been one of the great coaches of all time. I think really truly it was a calling that I think he would have just not only excelled at, but enjoyed. And, life takes us in different paths, and his was different, but I feel blessed. It's almost like an opportunity to play with someone special for a year in your life. And he just happens to be a very special person and a great coach. And he put together really a powerhouse team my freshman year, with many of the players.
You guys were killing people. You weren't just winning; you were annihilating.
Well, it wasn't much fun because we never got to play in the second half.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, we're so far ahead. It was great for the team. And look, we had Cullen and Warner and Casey, and an offensive line and a super defense.
Kochanski.
And Kochanski and
Clark,
Jamie Henry and just on and on and on. And then Coach Yeager, who was spectacular. Yeah. And we were so well coached and so disciplined. And thank God he called the plays. And so I think we're winning.
That's what Cullen and Warner were saying.
Yeah. I think we're winning 30 or 40 to nothing at halftime most games. And so then the whole team got to play. And, it's funny, years later, my dad, rest his soul, said that was one of his favorite seasons of all time, of all the sports that all the sons and brothers had played. He just thought that was the most dominant. He'd never seen such a dominant football team. Just was really.
You scared the crap out of us. I mean, we were fat and sassy. We had just 5 of us had gone up to the varsity, and that was a good team. That was Mark's senior year.
Yeah.
I think we underachieved that year.
Right.
And that was a lesson that the 5 of us sophomores learned when we were on that varsity, is don't let opportunities waste, because we had the previous year before we got on the varsity, when we were freshmen, that team finished undefeated. I think they had 1 tie. Right. And Stagbauer was honorable mention. I think all state. John Cullen was all state. Mm-hmm. Mark was all league. I think maybe even all Catholic. So we had a lot of guys coming forward, but we also had 18-year-old drinking age, and which was a really bad idea.
It was a bad idea.
It didn't last very long, but while it was there, that particular team had a problem self-regulating.
Right.
And it carried over into practice, and we lost 2 games we never should have lost. So we ended up that season 6-2. But we're looking, all our sophomores, we're looking over our shoulder, and we're seeing you guys were undefeated, and you not only were undefeated, but like I said, most of the starters only played a half. Yeah. So we knew there was a genesis of our team and your team. Right. That was going to eventually make some things happen once we got to play together. So Would you walk me through um, your thigh injury?
Yeah. So,
When did that happen?
yeah,
And just go ahead. I'm
yeah. So it was, so again, we come out, we've got, our freshman team. We're now sophomores. You guys are juniors. And obviously there was a decent group of seniors. Um, and we came out and I was a quarterback.
Yep. I think
And,
7 or 8 of you guys from that freshman team made the varsity.
yes, yes.
Yep.
And so, if I remember, it was Bishop Borges was our first
Yep.
game,
Yep.
and we were running the triple option,
Yeah.
and it was, it was powerful. We had a phenomenal group, and I think it was either the third or fourth play in the first quarter where, first, third or fourth play in the beginning of the game,
Right.
where I went down and I pitched, and I don't know if it was a linebacker or a defensive end hit me in the thigh and just flipped me backwards. And I
Yep.
was running full speed, and he was coming full speed, and it was a direct shot. And I limped off the field, and Coach Fracassa, I love that guy. Walk it off, right? And within
Right.
two
Yep.
or three plays, I was back in, and I was gimping around a little bit, but I was fine. Um, and we proceeded to, you know what? I just couldn't really run really well, and
Right.
but we had a great team, and at the end of the day, look, we lost. I think at the end, a 45-yard field goal to lose the game. And I think it was the first football game I'd ever lost in my life,
Mm.
and I was hurt, so I remember it. I remember it well, and it was tough. It not only was a tough loss, but the injury
That would have
was.
been a different team if you were healthy.
You know
I
what?
don't.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
Look, I've got no regrets, and injuries happen, and actually, back then, physical therapy wasn't really even a thing.
Yeah.
And
You tried to play basketball and you had that thigh wrapped all season, right?
yeah, well, that next week, I came out, and was fully wrapped, and after that, it was, a they called it a calcium deposit, and it was the size of a softball on my
Yeah.
thigh, and
Yeah.
it's from a severely intense hit, and the body literally can't prepare itself, and so that was it. They called it. I was done, um, and not only did I miss the rest of that season, but I missed my entire sophomore year basketball season.
Yeah. Which
Um,
was
the
the
state
year.
championship team.
Yeah.
Um,
Man.
so yeah, and even worse, I was on crutches for 10 months.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I've
So
got a buddy.
did the leg atrophy on you?
I Yes, I limp to this day. That leg is about 3 inches smaller, is skinnier than my right leg.
Wow.
And so, that was the toughest time of my life. It was a good friend of mine from Arizona State, physical therapist. We had talked about it, and he said, today, had we known today, back then, it would have been, I would have been down for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then I would have been back. But back then,
Wow.
they didn't know, so they stuck me in crutches for a year, and it was tough. It was tough, and actually just got off the crutches like a week or two before our junior year, the year that our championship team,
Yep.
and they put a 15 or 20-pound cast on that leg that I played with, during my whole junior year and my whole junior year basketball season. I had that cast taped
Yep.
to my leg, so it was
Remember.
just unfortunate.
And the athlete that you were before the injury, I mean, in eighth grade, we knew what kind of athlete you were, and like you said, you were 6'2" in eighth
Right.
grade.
Right.
But I mean, Mark was a big guy, and
Right.
you could handle the weight, you know. So we were just waiting for you to get on the sophomore team because Mark Brillmeyer was Mike Ryan's backup, but for
Right.
Casa, he knew he had you coming up as a sophomore,
Right.
so he moved. He didn't even get a chance to try out for quarterback.
Right.
He
Right.
moved him to tight end because he said, "Well, we've got him. We've got our quarterback, and he's right here."
Right.
So everything was all set for you to start. And Mike Ryan, the guy you would have preceded, was a 3-year starter. So
Yep.
Fracassa liked to work with his quarterbacks over a number of years.
Yep.
So we were all excited to have you at the quarterback, and when you got hurt, we turned to Chris Thomas, and Chris
Yep.
was a good practice player, but the summer before that season, he had gone to the Joe Namath passing camp and won the MVP at the camp. So Fracassa said, "Well, you know, let's give this
There you
guy a
go.
try." That lasted about 3 games, and then Brillmeyer came in
Right.
in number 85, right? So he didn't even change his jersey number, and he finished the year at quarterback at number
Yeah.
85.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, now we're into your junior year.
Yep.
What are your memories of that championship season in 1974?
Well, look, I felt so blessed to be with Coach Fracassa. I mean, he, as you know, a quarterback himself, he pampered, took care of, looked after his quarterbacks. And,
Here's your
we
favorite
spent a lot.
picture up on the screen.
Yeah. Yep. He was, he understood the position, and going to his camps and the one-on-one training with coach, not only professionally, but personally,
Right.
it was just, to be associated and to work with, one of the greats of all time and one of the greatest people of all time was a real honor. And
Right.
not only a mentor, but an inspiration. And look, the quarterback coach relationship. I mean, we're together all the time.
Yeah.
And it was,
And he
just
really was the quarterback's coach. I mean, he was
Yes.
the offensive coordinator,
Yeah.
but I mean, he ran a quarterback's camp in the
did.
summertime.
He did. And
Yeah.
and look, I supported his camp for decades after I left. That
Yep.
it's invaluable. And what he had taught, it was very special. But I think I think it was really to answer your question, just excited. I was a little tenuous about, I've got this 15-pound or 20-pound cast on my leg playing, and had been out of it for more than a year. But I was surrounded by so many great players and so many great coaches, and there was a lot of excitement that year. And knowing that, again, we were back to the triple option, and
Right.
I think we were all very comfortable with that offense, and we're good at it. Look, we had one of the greatest backfields of all time, one of the greatest offensive lines of all time, and more importantly, one of the greatest defenses of all time. So you look at that, and you look at a coaching staff that is second to none, and I think the writing was on the wall. I think there was a lot of momentum going into that season, and look, we were dominant. And it's easy for a quarterback to play well when you've got that type of backfield and offensive line and defense and coaching staff. I mean, things came together, and truly a magical run from start to finish that year.
Was there anything that you carried over with you from that season that you took with you, either lessons from coach or just
Yeah, you know what?
team dynamics, stuff like that?
Yes. It took me a couple years, and it's going to be funny, but I really thought I was really good at the time.
You were.
And well, I wasn't that good. And it took a number of years at Arizona State and thereafter to realize that I was okay. And to realize that I had a unbelievable group of teammates around us, one of the greatest coaches of all time. And to look back on it, that literally at every position, we were dominant. And that,
Well, we had 14 guys that went to Division One on
Mhm.
scholarship, and they weren't
Yep.
just, I mean, this is Michigan, Arizona State,
Yep.
Notre Dame. These were really good schools, and we had another 5 went to Division 2 and 3. So that's 19 out of your
Yes.
22 starters.
Yes. It was truly a talented team, but more importantly, they were all great people.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I think the takeaway for me, the life lesson being with Coach was, he was tough, but he was inspirational, and I was blessed from a standpoint to go from that, and I know we'll talk about it in a bit, but to a college coach who was a fear-based.
Right.
Where I never heard a good thing said in 4 years to any player, and you're scared for your life.
Yeah.
It worked. It worked as a motivator, but overwhelmingly took away from my life Coach Fracassa's style of building great teams and businesses through discipline and hard work
Right.
and inspiration. You don't have to beat people up. You don't have to have people fearful to perform at the highest level. And that really was my biggest takeaway with Coach.
And Fracassa knew Frank Cush, because
Yes.
either Cush was a coach or they were teammates, or I mean, there was the Michigan State connection.
Yes. So Coach Fracassa was a quarterback on the Michigan State team where Coach Cush was a starting guard.
Right.
And that was that connection. And, small world. And yes, and such after my senior year, the opportunity to go play for Arizona State.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your senior year. I think that it took, from your injury, it took you almost your sophomore and junior year before you gained confidence back in your physical nature.
Yes.
That the injury was not something that was weighing on your mind anymore, that you could really cut loose. So
Right.
talk to me about the 1975 season.
Yeah. And so actually the summer before, they finally they took that cast off my leg that I was playing with for the previous year and actually did some rehabilitation going into my senior season and really started to feel normal again. And it was a tough couple of years.
You didn't want to run.
No,
it was tough because
yeah. Well, pick up a 25-pound barbell in one hand
Mhm.
and go run with it.
Right.
And turn and cut and this or that. It just throws you off somewhat.
Sure.
And so, they were scared. Their number one goal of that cast was to prevent another injury, because we had such a great team. They didn't really need me to run, with that backfield,
right.
Of you and such, you and Levoy's and Warner and Cullen. I mean,
Yep.
So it wasn't needed. So I think that their goal was just to, run the option, throw the ball, and be a good quarterback. And so, so going into the 75 season, had trained, had finally gotten an opportunity to play basketball again, playing basketball. I remember playing and spending a lot of time with Tommy Henry and hooping and getting back in shape. And it was fun again. It was really fun again. And had an opportunity to go into that season. And actually, I thought, a lot of great players, a lot of momentum. And I think, except for that game in my sophomore year where I got hurt, I think we're looking at in my lifetime a fifth opportunity to quarterback an undefeated team, and
Right. And
we
at that point, we were 12 game winning streak,
right,
or 13. So going into your 1975 fall season,
hmm
and no reason to believe it you weren't going to run the table again. And that was the
yeah,
first year of the playoff too.
yes, and we were. Again, great players, great coaches. Obviously, we had some big losses from you guys. Graduating. But
But the
like
cupboard was not bare. I mean, you had people that were chewing at the bit to get, like a Tom Henry. He
right,
backed up Rock Road at tight end
right,
and backed you up at quarterback.
yep, yep. Great athlete, and so
Yeah.
so we had another great team, and
Yep.
it was looking very promising. And honestly, I didn't think, very confident that we were going to run the table, and we almost did. But like life, life takes a turn. All of a sudden,
Yep.
Cullen gets hurt. All of a sudden, Warner gets hurt. All of a sudden, Casey Ryan gets hurt. And towards the end of the year, and our backfield's gone.
Right.
And for a team that runs the triple option, as you well know, your
It's not a
fullback,
good. It's not a good
yeah,
prognosis.
your fullback's instrumental, and your tailbacks are invaluable. And so, and the rhythm of running the triple option, which isn't easy,
No.
that's not an easy thing to do. And we had played together for years, going back to St. Regis, and so we had 4 years of rhythm of playing together, and now all of a sudden the entire backfield's gone and hurt.
Right.
And I remember going into the championship game, or the last game of the season for the Catholic League title. They were. It was tough. It was really tough. I still remember seeing the linebackers, both linebackers. It didn't matter where the running backs went; they just stayed right in front of me the entire game.
Right.
And so we kind of had a hybrid game plan that game. And look, we didn't have our best players on the field. And so, it was unfortunate, and it was a tough loss.
Well,
And
last game of the season, Catholic
last
League
game of the
championship.
season, actually at the very end of the game, I think it was tied right up to the very end. And, there's one of our young running backs fumbles, and they pick it up, run it back for touchdown.
Yeah.
And that's it. So it was devastating. In fact, so devastating that, one of my favorite stories, and I thought of this throughout my life. After that game, I went home, and what's funny, Ted, is I really don't remember any games that we won. I've got no conscious memory of celebrating or winning,
Right.
but I can tell you those 2 games I
The
lost.
losses. Yeah.
I remember every moment, every play, every feeling. And that
Yeah.
last game of your senior year,
Yeah.
Look, I was in charge. I was the quarterback. I was the guy who was supposed to make it happen, and I just didn't. And
But it's hard to run a wishbone when your starting backfield is sitting on the sidelines with injuries.
Yeah.
And like you said, guys that you'd been playing 3-4 years together. I mean, there was a rhythm that you guys had too.
So I went home, and I disappeared for like 3 days. I didn't go. There was a party after the game. All the players got together. I wasn't there. I didn't answer the phone. I didn't go to school on Monday. And I remember coming in, and Dan McClain came up to me. He goes, "You okay? You hurt?" I said, "I got a hip pointer. I'm fine. Where you been?" I said, "Look, I let the whole world down, teammates, coaches, family, friends, And he looked at me and he goes, You win together, you lose together.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
It's the reason why he's still coaching.
yeah, exactly. And he said, "Where were you? You should have been there after the game.
Yeah.
You should have been there. What are you doing?"
Mm.
And great moment. Great moment.
Yeah. We at our last reunion, we were all shooting the shit afterwards, and I'd talk, everyone would stand up. But you got up there, and you had a kind of a testimony for. Well, first of all, you preface it. He says you love college football, you love sports, and you love numbers. And one of the things that you did before the reunion is you kind of sat down with some of the numbers from the 74 and 75 football teams.
Mm-hmm.
And you painted a case for the two defenses, the 74 and the 75 football
Right.
teams. If you look at their seasonal record,
Right.
what they did defensively,
Right.
you could make a case it was the greatest era of error, ERA, era,
Right. Right.
for the greatest era for a defense in Brother Rice history. Do you remember
Yes.
some of the?
Well, yes. I mean, clearly. And again, it's so funny at the time, you're a quarterback, you think you're great. You're winning, all these great teams, and somehow you think it's, you're somehow the chosen one. Yeah. When in fact, when you replay the reel and look at it, we had such a spectacular team and coaches. And I focused on our defense. And I looked at it, I'm going, my God, I didn't pay any attention to defense at all. I'm on the sidelines talking to Coach Picasa. And I'm looking game after game after game, including our freshman year with Coach Yeager, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Touchdowns given up in the first half of our freshman year. I mean, our defense was dominating. They were killing it. And of course, it's unfair, but it's the quarterback and the tailbacks get their picture in the front page of the paper, right?
Yeah. Yep.
When in fact, there were a lot of other players that deserved to be on that front page of that newspaper and should have been mentioned and named and pointed out to, one of the great all-time defenses in not only Brother Rice history, but, high school football history. And you then couple that with, on the other side of the ball, I'm sitting around with a bunch of, phenomenal players and coaches on the offensive side of the ball. It's not hard. It's not difficult when you have such a dominating defense for an offense to excel, sometimes, well beyond their means. Now, again, we had great players on both sides. But it would have been a little different had our defense been mediocre and we had to score, 30 or 40 points a game to win.
Well,
right?
to your point, I went back and looked it up. This 1974 team, the defense allowed 48 points the entire year. So that's less than a touchdown a game. We had
Right.
a 9-game season. So that, and then the following year, I think there was only one touchdown that was scored against the defense, because the one in the Divine Child game that was scored against, it was a turnover, as I recall.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
That's pretty impressive.
that's really
Over a 2-year period of time. That's
right. Well,
that's shutting things down.
right. And
You almost just needed a good kicker with that defense, right?
Right. And I'm sure if you look back at our 8th grade year at Regis and our freshman year with Coach Yeager, it's probably similar.
Yeah.
There weren't a lot of touchdowns scored against our defenses. And so I think that we were very blessed to have such a complete team
Right.
to play together at that time, at that level, together with such great success.
Well, this is a good transition, talking about defense. It's a good transition to transition you to your post high school career. Talk to me about it's one thing you told me that just blew me away. I didn't know anything about. You were actually recruited by Duke to go play basketball, correct?
Well, so the backstory. So between my junior and senior year,
Right.
so I just, like I said before, I'd gotten that the cast off my leg, or at least the cast I wore to practice in or play in my junior year. I went to the Duke basketball camp,
Mhm.
and so I was at the Duke basketball camp before my senior year. Now, understand that this was when Duke was in last place at the ACC. So
Right.
I want to put historical perspective here. It
What?
was before Duke was Duke.
You need to bury that. We don't need to know that level. Don,
Yes,
listen.
yes, yeah. And so, but my dad, my brother Mark went to Cornell, played football
Right.
for Cornell. And so, and my dad believed, look, we came from the other side of the tracks. And so, being a blue collar kid, my dad just firmly believed, which is why I ended up at Brother Rice, believed that the only way to get ahead in life is through education. And that's why, he spent every penny he had to get us through Brother Rice, which was the launching pad for my life. Without that, I don't know how my life would have ended up. But he really, truly believed that I should go to an Ivy League school. And then the Duke opportunity jumped up. And
Well, I mean, you were a smart kid. I'm sure if you wanted to, you could have gotten in. I mean, athletically, you would have qualified academically because we had smart kids on that team.
Well, but I don't know, Ted, if you paid attention to the IQ of our team, I would rank last. Trust me. There was a lot of smart guys on our team. And
well, one of the things on our team, on the 74 team, we had over 20 kids that were on the A honor roll during the football season. So that's have a 3.5 or better GPA.
Right.
There was no there's no slough offs.
Yeah. And so that I had an opportunity to play with the Duke, the Duke coaching staff, and honestly, I was going into my senior year. I was going to play basketball in college. So my senior year playing football. So that last football game, again, not to backtrack for a second, but
no,
the final game of my senior year that we lost,
Mm-hmm.
It was the first time I don't know if we've ever been down where we were losing at the end of the game. I don't know if I've ever been in that situation. And so I convinced Coach Picasa, I don't know, there may have been 30 seconds left in the game, after the touchdown was scored against us, to let me run the kickoff back. So Coach Picasa put me as the kick returner for the kickoff. And again, I don't know if there's a minute left or 30 seconds left or 10 seconds left. We're down 7 points.
Mm-hmm.
So I run back the last play, and I get hit, and I get a hip pointer.
Mm.
Well, that was back in a time when the basketball season had already started.
Right.
And
Yeah,
so
'cause this
then
would have
all of a
been-
sudden, my senior year basketball career, I missed the first third or half of my senior year basketball season.
Man, you were snake bit with basketball.
Right. So I was injured almost my whole 4 years of basketball. And then the first game back, I broke my little finger on my right hand.
Oh, geez.
And Coach Norton walks in, and the trainer goes, "Look, it's going to be about 6 weeks with a little cast on it." And Coach Norton goes, "No, he's fine. Just get him out there." And so
he's got the rest of his life to let that heal.
Yeah. And
I only got one more year with him.
Yeah, right. And it still hasn't healed, by the way.
Yeah,
but
pretty unsightly.
because of my family, we had no money, and I had to get a scholarship to go to college. It was my only chance. So so basketball was out. I basically missed most of my senior year basketball season, and football. The opportunity to being recruited to play football came up, and sat down with my dad. He says, "Look, you're playing football." I said, "I'm in. I love football. I thought I was going to be a basketball player." But
what was your favorite sport? Was it basketball?
you know what? That's a good question. I probably loved them both. I think I played basketball.
Is that like saying who's your favorite child?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right.
It was great. I played basketball through my 20s. So I would go down after work and go down into the South Phoenix. I'd be the only white guy in the court, and here I'm 25 hooping with all the brothers, and I just loved it.
Yep.
I just loved it. Yeah.
Yep.
It was
something
great
about
memories.
that environment.
Yeah.
So ASU comes through your senior year. Well, were there any other colleges recruit you for football?
Yeah, you know what?
They were huge.
Yeah, you know what? Thank God Coach knew Coach Cush, and so went on a recruiting trip there, and it was. Look, it didn't take long to get on a plane in January in Detroit and fly to Arizona when it's 75 degrees with the sun out and palm trees. And I'll never forget coming down the walkway from the airplane. There was a golf cart with 3 blonde cheerleaders there going, "Are you Don? Are you Don?"
Yeah. ASU has a reputation of just mighty fine women.
That weekend, that was it. And I'll never forget calling my dad. I said, "Dad, I'm going to Arizona State."
Yeah, I may not get back on the plane to come home. I may just start right now.
He was pissed off. He goes, "The hell you are." He goes, "Donnie, a degree from ASU is worthless. A degree from like your Cornell is worth a lifetime." I go, "Dad, I'm going to Arizona State." And luckily, it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Okay, so this is a great story, Don. So all right, so now it's the summer going into your freshman year at ASU,
Right.
And not all the recruits have arrived yet. So to describe your first week at ASU and the surprise that you got that first.
Yeah, well, actually, it was the first day of football camp. I remember it was August. Yeah, August of 1976. And super excited. And that the year before, ASU went 12-0, beat Nebraska in the Fiesta Bowl, and their final ranking was number 2 in the country. So I'm coming into that team, and most of the team is coming back, including the starting quarterback.
Right.
So I'm thinking this is the perfect situation. Freshman quarterback to the senior quarterbacks that just took their team to an undefeated season and to learn from them. And so I am sky high at Arizona
and they're
State.
Playing the wishbone, right?
They were, and and it's the first day of camp. It's training camp before the first practice, and we're all sitting around, and all the freshmen and all the seniors and juniors were behind us, and all of a sudden this big kid gets up and walks by. 6'4", 235, 240. And somebody goes, "Hey, there goes the California Player of the Year." I'm going, "Cool. Well, God, that's great."
What position does he play?
What position does he play? And they said, "Quarterback." I'm like, "What? I'm the freshman quarterback."
Right.
So here ASU gets the number 1 high school quarterback recruit in the nation. And it's Mark Malone, who ended up being years later the number 1 draft pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he followed Terry Bradshaw after all the Super Bowl wins. And so here's this. I mean, this kid was big. He's strong. He's fast. So anyway, look. So now we got 2 senior quarterbacks and the 2 freshman quarterbacks, and so we're now at camp. Well, the first 3 days, I'm telling you, Ted, it was beautiful. They're running the wishbone. Okay. And the first 3 days is before you get into pads. And I'm running the wish, and the offensive coordinator is he mentioned my name 100 times. Now that's how you run the wish. That's how you do it. The pitch, the run, the this, the that.
You had 3 years under your belt at Brother Rice. I mean, you'd been running the wishbone. Yeah.
Well, and Coach Picasa, right? He had us down, right? And it was, and so, and then we get into pads, 4th day, 5th day, and, throwing on the run, throwing, left, right. And then on the middle of the 5th day, and again, that was back, we had 3 a days. 2 of them were in pads, and we scrimmaged twice a day then for 13 straight days, with tackling practice before the scrimmage of the 2, that was the 70s. And so Coach Cush walks up, he goes, "Hey, you know what? We got these," and we had these, all-American wide receivers and great quarterbacks. He says, "You know what? We're going to put in a straight drop back passing program." Great. So 4-step drop back and throw the ball 70 yards. Well, there was one problem.
There's only one quarterback that could do it.
Right? I was the only quarterback that couldn't. So all of a sudden, this phenomenal 4 days of camp of running the option, now they're going to this drop back passes. And I used to say, if I threw it as far as I could and I ran out there, picked it up and threw it again, it still wouldn't be far enough. Mark Malone is throwing it 65 yards on a string after a 5-step drop back, as is the senior quarterbacks. And Coach Cush is looking at this, and it's over. And at the end of the 5th day, he takes me to the side. And this conversation lasted all of about 40 seconds. He goes, "Hendricks, you're fast, you're smart, you're going to be a quarterback of the defense." And he goes,
"There you go."
And he points to that side of the field, and he literally kind of pushed, "Go that way." And I'm looking back, like, well, where am I going? I've never played a down or defense in my life. And I'm going
none of us believed it when we heard that you were playing safety. None of the guys that went to high school, wait a minute.
Right. And then the defensive coordinator grabs me and goes, "Hendricks, you're the quarterback of the defense." I go, "What does that mean?" He goes, "You're a free safety." He goes, "You're going to call the plays and watch wide receivers." I never played defense. It's almost like, hey, you're going to go play volleyball now, or you're going to go play baseball. It's like playing a different sport. I was a quarterback my whole life. So anyway, that was it. Since the 6th grade, my quarterback career was over. But you know what? I just wasn't good enough. I didn't have a strong enough arm.
Well, different offense. You would have been if they kept running the wishbone. You would have been. You would have done well in college with a somewhat healthy thigh and confidence in your physical capabilities again.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good matchup with your skill set.
Yeah. Well, it's the best thing that happened to me, and I've got no regrets. And look, it was every player I played with on defense. I mean, in those Frank Cush days, they all went to the pros. Literally 100% of them. I was the only starter in his regime that didn't go play pro football.
Wow.
But I was also the only player to ever graduate from the business school. So there was kind of the trade-off. I had to make my dad proud, and he told me, "If you're not out 4 years, pal,
we're gonna get to that." But your senior year, now, correct me if I'm wrong, you had an interception against John Elway, right?
Yeah. I had 2 really good years. My senior year at free safety. It took a good year and a half to learn the position as a freshman and sophomore. Special teams, and then second team, and then as a nickel back on pass plays. And so again, it was like learning a brand new sport. It was great, and the free safety position, as you know, it was that. And playing at the time for the Pac-10, very much a passing league. I would read the formations, and I'd be barking out plays to the linebackers and to the DBs. after each play. And so it came very natural. And the free safety back then, very much like an Alabama free safety today, when Saban was coaching, your job wasn't to come up and hit a tailback running through the middle. Your job was to make sure nobody got long. Right. And if somebody broke for a touchdown, you were to run them down, let them have 25-yard gain, but tackle them and get them out of bounds.
That's why you're called safety.
That's why you're called safety. And so, enjoyed that. And played in the Fiesta Bowl. We had a good couple years, and it was a lot of fun.
And that was a time you would only get a couple games a year on TV. I mean,
so the Arizona State Stanford game my senior year is televised nationally. So my dad, my brothers got to see it. Intercepted a pass from John Elway in the Stanford game. Unfortunately, we lost that game, but you don't know he's going to be John Elway yet either, right? He's just another player, and years later. So the real funny part of that story is I never told that story because nobody believed it. So there was no internet. And so for 25 years, there was always this rumor, right? And I never talked about it in business ever because people just didn't believe it. And so then all of a sudden one day somebody sent me a note on the internet and said, "Hey, they just posted that game on the internet."
Oh, isn't that sweet?
Yeah, because it was televised. And then I'm sending it to like the 40 guys that made fun of me all those years. And like, Hendricks claimed, blah, 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 blah. So
Let's see if we can slap that at the end of that.
Yeah.
Slap that clip at the end of this podcast.
Yeah. And my daughters live in Denver. So my adult daughters live in Denver. So obviously Elway's a big dog in Denver. So it was fun.
Very cool.
Better lucky than good, for sure.
So, I mean, now this is the fascinating part of your post-college career and what you created from scratch is just, I want to get a little bit into it's amazing, Don. So you're out of college, and Coach Fracassa, I did a documentary on him about 10 years ago, and he told me all the stories about his old players, and he would talk about you, get a smile on his face. He says, and Don Hendricks, he graduated from Arizona State, and I'll be damned if he didn't just start selling bandanas. Talk about your post-college career.
Right.
And your humble beginnings.
It's fond memories. So it's my senior year.
Mm-hmm.
So my second semester of my senior year was the first time since I was 5 years old that I wasn't playing a sport.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, and I know all my teammates were the same. So here I am, 21 years old, and when I was little, I played football, basketball, baseball year round. Before it was football and basketball year round, and as you all know, the college football was year round training.
Sure.
Now all of a sudden, it's my second semester of my senior year. Played 4 years at Arizona State, and there were no sports. And I'm a couple months away from graduating, and so long story short, my roommate was a pheasant hunter up in Northern California and brought home a pheasant pelt. And one day we're at one of the bars, and he made a feather hat band, put it on his cowboy hat, and we're out in a bar. And by the way, we had no money. So back then, the football scholarship only paid for everything except discretionary things. My family had no money, so and we couldn't work because we were busy. So got a part-time job to bring some money in, just to pay to have fun. And but we go out to a bar, and my roommate's got his cowboy hat with a feather hat band on it. So this is circa 1980, right before Urban Cowboy with John Travolta came out. And a guy came up and offered my roommate $75 for that cowboy hat and hat band.
Interesting.
Well, look, I'm a couple weeks away from graduating from their business school, right? I looked at that. $75. If you remember, pitchers of beer were $2.
Yeah.
That's $75. Oh my gosh. We lived like rock stars. So went back, bought another hat, made another hand, and the next night went out, sold it for another 75. Anyway, I'm looking at my roommate and I'm interviewing for jobs. Conoco Oil, Ross Pro's company in Dallas, to get a job because right after graduation I'm kicked out
Yeah,
of the
you
dorm.
knew one thing. You didn't want to go back to the snow.
No. No. And so these jobs were offering like 13 grand a year starting pay. Again, it's 1980 to go work for these companies in Texas, and all of a sudden, within 2 weeks, I got $1,000 in my pocket. I'm like,
Wow.
oh my God, what just happened? And we're living like rock stars. Anyway, long story short, we just created a little cowboy hat company with cowboy hats and feather hat bands, and created a business out of it. Again, pissed my dad off again for not taking a real job.
Yeah.
And here I am, selling cowboy hats and hat bands that we were making. And at one point we had like 10 people working for us, and 300 Western wear companies in the West that were clients of ours. And about a year into it, the fad died. 81 hit, and Urban Cowboy came out. The biggest thing in the whole country was people wearing cowboy hats. So again, better lucky and good at that time frame. But anyway, sold it.
So you struck while the iron was hot. It was a fad.
Yeah.
You caught it early, rode that wave. But then you figured, well, this is probably not sustainable, and maybe I should go back and, tell the story about going back.
Yeah,
and
well,
to you.
My dad was on me the whole time.
Yeah,
he's
right.
like, look, just would you please get a job for God's sake? Because he goes, you and your roommate, we're then out partying like rock stars because we're making money. We never had any money, so
right.
You can't give young men money when they never had money. It doesn't work. It doesn't turn out well.
It's not a good formula.
Yeah, and so the sold that, and then went to my favorite professor at Arizona State, and my favorite business class. I loved it. It was, you start a business from scratch, and at the end of the semester you're graded on it. And for whatever reason, it was my favorite class. And I went to him. I asked him, Professor, look, what do I do for the rest of my life?
Right.
And he looks at me. He goes, Don, you're in the state of Arizona, a lot of growth. He goes, you should go into real estate. And I go, real estate? Okay. Here's the guy. He told me to go into real estate, commercial real estate, not residential. And he goes,
right.
That's the future of business, is commercial real estate. And that next week I started interviewing with companies. And
well, no way, you're leaving out a really good part. The fake it till you make it.
Oh yeah. Well, yes. Well, so the company that hired me, okay. So the first company, after, it was actually a 6-hour interview, and I get hired. The boss comes up and he goes, look, I want you to show up on Monday. He goes, I'm going to buy you a suit. And the suit you have on, which was my interview suit that my dad bought me for like $30. He goes, I want you to burn that. And so my first day at work, he bought me a suit, bought me shoes, bought me a suit, a tie. And I go out and I'm talking, look, I'm, 22 years old. And a couple of the senior guys, I'm trying to ask them, like, look, how do you make it in this business, right? And the one guy says, look, dude, he goes, you got to buy yourself an Italian custom-made suit. You got to buy yourself a gold Rolex. You got to have the nicest shoes and a brand new Mercedes. And if you don't, you've got no chance of making it in this business. And I'm living in an apartment with no furniture in it. And so, I've got some money from my, from the hat band business. And so I closed my first deal, and I took all the money and I went out and I bought a brand new 2-seater Mercedes, Italian suit, tie, shirt, shoes, and a gold Rolex. And I had no furniture in my apartment. And
Right.
and then I'm out in front of clients. All they see is all of that, and they're thinking,
Yep.
"No, here's a young, ambitious kid." And so that
Got to
was
be
it.
successful. He's got a Rolex, right?
He's got a Rolex, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden, the world changed, and closed a couple more deals thereafter. And it's really amazing when you go from just being really broke your whole life to all of a sudden finding some success. And it was a fun time. And for whatever reason, commercial real estate was in my blood. And
Well, and you caught a pre-boom. I mean,
yeah,
Phoenix. I mean, it was almost timing wise a perfect storm
yes,
to get into
yes,
commercial real estate when Phoenix was just starting to explode.
yeah, yes. And the professor, had he told me to, go be an airplane pilot, whatever, I would have done whatever he told me to do. So it really, the stepping stones along the way from, Coach Fracassa to Coach Cush in college to, at the end of the day, it's still, discipline and hard work, right?
Yeah,
And
and grit and grind.
that's it.
It's you
That's
you.
it.
I mean, you started off working for somebody else, but
Yep.
then you went out up on your own. You
Yep.
created Hendricks and Partners.
Yep.
Grew to such a point where you created a national system, right?
Yep. Company. Yeah.
And in 2013, you sold it to Berkshire Hathaway.
Yes. Yes.
Tell me about the growth of Hendricks and Partners and your path towards the acquisition.
Yeah. Well, you know what, it was really a culmination of, an athletic career that included Brother Rice and Arizona State. I mean, I
Mhm.
realized, reflecting back on those days that my conclusion was, I just wasn't that good. And that what the missing, the ingredient to success was being on a great team. And so, when I was working for another company, the whole time, all I could think of is playing quarterback again, not literally, but in a business sense where you get to pick your own players,
Mhm.
pick your coaches, pick your team. I thought I was good at that. I wasn't the best player. I wasn't the best coach, but I lived through a time where you can win a Super Bowl with the right set of players and coaches, and you don't have to be that great of a player. And the life lessons that I took home from Coach Fracassa, and I really looked at myself, my career as a coach. I went out and built an army. I went out
Mhm.
and hired your most experienced guys in the country and put in a very disciplined system where your top mortgage bankers and brokers in the country would come together as a team, and we
Right.
played as a team, and infrastructure and coaching and training for senior people, and that it just didn't exist at that time. And surrounded myself with really phenomenal people that were a lot brighter than I was, and they were better business people, better managers, and and just collectively, everybody loved playing for a big, strong, winning team. And I just happened
Mhm.
to have my name on the door. And
Well, you
at the end of
built
the
it from
day,
scratch. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
you're humble, but I mean, you built that whole thing from scratch. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Well, again, at the right place at the right time, was very blessed. And but without those experiences in sports at Brother Rice and thereon, it just doesn't happen because you have that same grit and determination in building a business, right?
Right. Right.
And two, I think people always ask about, there were certain markets we went into. We ended up to 40 offices that I would not hire the best guy in town. Well, it's because he had a bad reputation.
Mm.
And so at the end of the day, I'd rather have the second or third best group that had the best reputation, and then end up becoming the best group, being part of a better team. And so
Gotcha.
just good people. And that, again, all comes from my Brother Rice days of surrounding yourself with not only talented people, but people that just truly are really good people.
Right.
And you can't lose that way. there's no way to have an unsuccessful business with a group of phenomenal people. And I remember clients, I mean, for decades would say, Hendricks, you got a great company, but you know what's really great? Your guys in Dallas, or your guys in Chicago, or your guys in Seattle, they're phenomenal people. But that was intentional. We wanted to come out and just hire the best people. And at the end of the day, it worked. And it really was, thinking back in my days as a quarterback at Brother Rice. You surround yourself with these phenomenal people that are really good at what they do, that are supported by their community and their families and the coaches. And how can you not succeed? And so that truly, at the end of the day, was my blessing.
Yeah, and you have not rested on your laurels because post acquisition from Berkshire Hathaway. Now, I've heard through the grapevine you took the Warren Buffett pledge. Is that
Yep.
true?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for those people that don't know, I think it's giving away almost
Almost
all
every.
your
Yeah.
net
Yeah.
worth,
Right. Yep.
right?
Yep.
And you set up a foundation. I think you told me your father-in-law was a surgeon and he passed away, and you set up a
Yeah.
charity.
There's other entities throughout the world that
Mhm.
are set up that,
Right.
it's just not, giving itself, the charitable business is a business, and maybe
It's
89.
medical research, right? Your foundation.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mayo Clinic
Ta-
and beyond. Yeah. Yeah. My father-in-law was a neurologist there, a brilliant neurologist. But at the end of the day, decided to go into the healthcare field and try and give back. And but most charitable institutions aren't all that charitable, and
Mm.
so you have to really dig long and deep and to find out, to make sure that 95% or 98% or 99% of every dollar goes to the charity that it's meant to go to. Um, but at the end of the day, I feel more blessed with my family and my daughters, and I've got a new granddaughter. And
Congratulations.
yeah, and I think that's really the take home.
Mhm.
Like, I'm still the kid from Pontiac and Detroit, and it's so
Southfield.
funny. Yeah, in Southfield and Troy, and it's
Yeah.
so funny. People always ask me where'd you go to high school, and I can't tell you. It's been 100 times throughout my business career. I said, I went to Brother Rice. You went to Brother Rice? They were like, it's known nationwide. I'm sitting in Los Angeles, in New York. I'm down and all of a sudden, you're just chitty chatting with a client, and they ask, where are you from? I said, I'm from Michigan. And, oh, you know what? We've got some family there. What high school did you go to? And so it was always fun. It was always fun to have a client react.
Well, Don, as that article I just put up on the
Yeah,
screen
right.
said, we were there at the beginning.
Yes,
And it's
yes,
whether true or not, we're gonna ride that horse. We were the team, that 1974 team that
yes,
started that dynasty in football. There
yeah,
was a couple of teams that helped build a foundation. Greg Collins's team
yeah.
and Mark's team in his junior year that helped build that reputation in the community. But yeah, it was a great
Yeah.
year. And
Well, and Ted, thanks to you, pal, for you know leading our team and putting everything together for a very long time. You're obviously, you're a phenomenal person, and so appreciate all your efforts in keeping us together and leading us. I really appreciate it.
well, thanks for saying that. I really enjoyed this discussion, and I just wanted to make sure that you were a part of the reunion, even though you couldn't be there in person. that you know from your teammates, and some of these guys you've maybe seen a couple times since high school. We really missed you, and we really enjoyed having you as a teammate, and we can't be any more proud of you than we are, and the man that you've become and continue to be. So
Well,
it's been fun. It's been a pleasure.
it's been great, Ted. It's, you know, and to all those guys, I love you guys all, and we're brothers forever. So thank you.
Yeah, for no question. And as I mentioned in the email, just make sure after we finish the interview that you hang on, because it's got to upload it to the site. But
Okay.
it's been wonderful, man.
Thanks,
Take care of
Ted.
yourself.
You too,
Love
pal. Love you
All
too. All right. Take care.
See ya. And there you have it. Don Hendricks, QB1 from the 1974 football team.